I'd like to title this particular video podcast report as The Power of Positive Thinking. No, this does not take away from my Christian faith. It does not take away from my belief in the Bible, but it does help me live every day a little bit better. I remember way back when, Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. I remember reading that book. And then along come some people saying, well, no, it's a new age. And you know what? You're right. There is some of that stuff that's new age. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, does the power of positive thinking really work? Positive thinking helps with stress management and can even improve your health. Indeed, some studies show that personality traits such as optimism and pessimism can affect many areas of your health and well-being. The positive thinking that usually comes with optimism is a key part of effective stress management. I have been reflecting the last number of weeks on my life. And I even put something in writing on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I've shared it with some of you personally, where I've redefined, and at almost 75 years of age, I continue to work what I love doing. I have in my entire life. That doesn't mean everything was roses. No, we did have thorns, and that's exactly what the Bible tells us there will be. But I was able to come up on the other side. And so my motto stands: a positive mental attitude to encourage and to serve others will motivate you to do your best. As I said just a few moments ago on Facebook, there's altogether far too much clutter and chatter that comes from people who know better. And they should be focusing more on the positives. But we want to just take sides on all of the stuff that's going on. And we're going to say this and we say that. And before we know it, we alienate that person. We divide this family. We do this. Hey, folks, this is all about trusting in the Lord and positive thinking. I remember years ago, and I've shared this many times, I did a stress management seminar with caregivers of Alzheimer patients. Some were living with them, and others were simply working with them. So I asked, and I always did, when I started my speeches and my seminars, I would say, what does it mean to you to have a positive mental attitude? Well, and I'm not talking about fluff in the sky and everything rosy. No, what does it mean? A gentleman gets up and he says, and he's probably, at that time I thought he was really old, but he looked great, dressed up in a suit and tie, and his wife was dressed up with as nicely as could be, sitting beside him. And he slowly gets up, and he was a smaller gentleman, and he says, Mr. Siemens, and he had a rather heavy German accent. You know what it means to me? He says, 7 years ago, the doctors told me my wife has Alzheimer's. I could have simply said, oh, wow, my life is over. 5 years ago, she hasn't recognized me, but there she was beside him. And he says, this is what it means to me, Mr. Siemens. I decided that every morning I would say, I would thank God for another day, and I would ask him to show in me the best possible things that I could do. That's what I'm talking about. Every morning we can decide, are we going to be negative or are we going to be positive? Yes, I know there are some issues that just simply seem to be so bad, but you have a choice. You have a choice. And the reason I'm talking about this, I was in Winnipeg on a pretty hectic day on Wednesday of this week. And I had an appointment with Dr. Schrader to take out a little cyst in the back of my neck. That was at 9 in the morning. There were some real positive things. He poked me, and in 10 seconds, everything was frozen locally. And within 15, 20 seconds, he's cutting. I could hear him cut, but I couldn't feel it. That was a real positive. And so, as I said, within 15, 20 minutes, I was out of there and gone. I had promised Laurel I would take a pad to a place in St. Vital Mall. Well, I got to the St. Vital Mall, and the address was just wrong, even on my GPS. I walked. I think I got in 4,200 steps to deliver that pad. And so it took me around the building outside and whatever else. But you know what? I came back in and I followed my path and I turned the other way. And there's a gentleman with 2 cups of coffee, and I kind of thought, well, maybe he works somewhere in the mall. I says, "Can you help me?" And I told him what I was looking for. He says, "I can't remember the name," he said, "but I think there's a place down there." Well, the name was Cell Mechanics. So he walked down one way. He says, "Come with me." He says, and we walked. And then we walked another way. And I said, "Okay, I think it's probably there." I said, you need to go. No, he says, "Come with me." So he walked me right to the store. So he said, "Have a great day." And I said, "You know what? You just made my day." He said, "What did I do?" I said, "You did everything. You helped me with a positive mental attitude." Then I walk into the store after about 15 minutes of waiting. They opened at 11. And there were 3 fellas in there, all from a different country, all a different color, all different nationalities, but all created in the same way by our Almighty God. So I walk in and, initially it seemed like, we needed some warranty work and different things. And, this young fella, he took his time and he just says, "You know what? Everything's good. We'll just work it through." And he did. And finally he says, "You know what? It's under warranty." He says, "We'll send it to the factory and it may take 2 weeks and you'll have it back." Wow. The power of being positive for me and for him. That's how I approached him. And that's how he responded. And then I came to another place. Mongos. My daughter Laurel loves mongos. Well, I do too. And so I wouldn't pick it up if it wasn't for her request. So I did. Yeah, I ordered 2. Yeah, absolutely. Walk in here and we have a chat, and I says, "You know what?" And they only serve shrimp starting at 4. So I smiled and laughed and said a few things. "You know what?" I says, "I really need shrimp. Can you get me shrimp?" He says, "No, I can't, but I will." He says, "It's impossible, but I will." Wow. What a blessing. And then he was the fella. He says, "Now when I'm cooking, you come to the grill." So I came to the grill, and sure enough, there he was. And he put on a show, and I actually put about 20 seconds on Facebook. I love the Mongo's food, but far more important was how he treated me that particular day. No, not because he gave me shrimp when he maybe shouldn't have. No, it was his whole attitude and demeanor. You know what? I really think after that day, I went to another place to see some friends, and there too, it was positive. And I think now we're still during, but since things are getting back to normal somewhat, people need encouragement. People need a positive attitude. Folks, whatever you do, Thank God for today. Thank God for friends. Thank God for human life. Thank God for whatever you have, and pass it on to somebody else. Be an encouragement. You know, I saw that story on Pembina Valley Online about how this 69-year-old man drowned in front of his wife in a boat, and she tried with absolute everything to save him. And, you need to read the story. It's so moving and so positive. She was screaming and yelling and shouting, "Jesus, what's going on?" But I trust you. I trust you. And today, this week, they're giving back to Heart, my Hutterite friends from Oak Bluff Colony that have recovered many bodies. But it isn't about recovering bodies. It's about helping people that lose loved ones and praying with them and taking the load off. You know what? We'll do what we can. And what closure these people have when they do find the body. I've had a chance to visit with both Paul and Manuel Mendel, and I appreciate their friendship. I appreciate their Christian fellowship when we're together. So, folks, that's what this is all about. The power of positive thinking. And then there's a question that says, what is wrong with the power of positive thinking? You know what? I don't even want to go there. Yes, some people may just simply run over somebody because they're so positive. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about encouragement. I'm talking about helping each other in a positive way. Well, you know what? That just so happened to come out as an inspiration today. Normally I would do this from the park, but I'm home today and I just thought I would do it here. So have yourself a great day. I know it's tough for many people to be positive because of the drought. And I don't belittle that in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? We've got leaders in the cattle industry that are standing up for the rest of you. They're standing up for those people. They're encouraging. They're asking for the help that's needed to keep their cattle alive. And yet, many of those are more positive than what you would think. So, ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a great day. That's somewhere, sometime, somehow, that Seaman says, and God bless.